Hello, my name is Jack and I'm 8 years old. Today I'm going to be a special correspondent for the National Trust at Hatfield Forest. I'm going to interview Miranda, who is a climate and environmental advisor for the National Trust. Hello.
Hello, welcome to Hatfield Forest.
I'm going to start off with question 1. How do we know our climate is changing?
Well, scientists have been measuring the temperature around the world over a number of years, and they've found that the temperature's been increasing since Victorian times, when we started using more fossil fuels like coal and oil, and we've actually had some very hot years in 2016 and 2020. They've also been measuring the atmospheric gases like carbon dioxide, and they found that we're actually emitting 250 times more gas than we'd expect.
What will happen to places like Hatfield Forest if global warming continues?
Well, we know that global warming is going to increase the Earth's temperature, but we have to look at specific places like Hatfield Forest to really be sure what's going to happen here. So what we do is we do a climate forecast. It's a bit like a weather forecast, so that we can get prepared. Just as you would if it was going to rain, you'd take your umbrella and wellies. We have to work out what's going to happen if it gets really hot here, as it's expected to do.
What other places might global warming affect? Has there been more flooding in the past 10 years than before?
Yes, there has been more flooding, which is a real problem. But we also, in this part of the world, we also have the other extreme, which is not enough rainfall. So we get droughts, and they can really affect places, even like this ancient forest, where the trees have got long roots and they're able to reach water. Drought can still be a problem. And when you get drought, you get more pests and diseases with the trees. It's also going to impact on our historic buildings and our collections like paintings. When you get higher moisture in the air, they can be damaged. And our archaeology, with increased sea level rises, the archaeology is threatened, as well as things like peat that it's buried in drying out.
Have you noticed any species becoming endangered? If so, what can we do to help?
Well, one of the areas we're really concerned about is where the land meets the sea, where you get salt marshes, and those are really important habitats for all sorts of creatures, and they are in danger because of rising sea levels. So about 30 years ago, the National Trust decided to make some new salt marsh at a place called Northey Island in Essex. And the way they did that was they scooped the mud out of the island and put it into the sea and made new salt marsh. And it's had an incredible effect, and the habitats are wonderful for all the animals there, and it's actually stored the equivalent carbon of driving a car right around the world, even in the last few years.
Yikes! I wish I could make an invention to stop climate change. In the meantime, what could we do to help?
Well, the invention already exists. It's you and I and everyone who can make a difference and address climate change. We can do things like spending more time in beautiful places like this, so that you really value nature and it makes you want to look after it more. Also, keep doing what you're doing, asking lots of questions. Things like, do I really need to buy that thing or that piece of clothing? What's it wrapped in? Should it be wrapped in all that packaging? You can ask your family, can we go somewhere by train instead of plane? And importantly, asking our politicians, what can you do to help my future?
Can't we just plant more trees?
Well, planting more trees is a really good thing, and National Trust has committed to plant 20 million more trees by 2030. But we also need to look after all of our old trees as well. They're a really good store of carbon, and they're still absorbing carbon from the atmosphere, so that's very important. But there's more than just one answer to climate change. We need to think of lots of other things, and that might include reducing the amount of carbon that we emit by looking after our resources more carefully and doing more with less. We also need to help places like this cope with climate change and prepare them for that.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Miranda, for talking to me today. We all need to do our bit so we can have a bright future. I've got lots of ideas to do better and help our environment. What are you going to do?